Lowest level since January, down by about 37 cents a year ago, according to AAA. Remember, you can find the lowest gas prices in our area at fox10tv.com. Just scroll over the weather tab section on our homepage and click on gas prices. All right, while prices at the pump are going down, the price to mail a letter, that's doing the opposite. It's going up starting in January. Going to cost you 3 cents more to do that. I sent out a tweet about this earlier. By the way, this is all according to a proposal from the U.S. Postal Service today. The price of sending a postcard would also go up by a cent to 34 cents. The increase is expected to raise $2 billion for the cash-strapped Postal Service if it gets approval for the hike from its regulatory panel. This year, the Postal Service has lost nearly $4 billion. It lost $16 billion last year.
A man convicted of killing a well-known realtor gets the death penalty. Fox 10 News reporter Renee Dials was at the sentencing hearing for Carlos Kennedy. She joins us live from Government Plaza with the story. Renee?
Judge Rusty Johnston accepted the jury's recommendation for death, and the judge says he hopes the sentence is carried out sooner rather than later. Now, before giving his decision, the judge said it was unimaginable that a human being committed such an horrific crime. And through it all, Kennedy remained emotionless. Carlos Kennedy was convicted in May of the 2010 murder of Zoa White. The retired realtor was beaten to death with a claw hammer inside her Spring Hill Avenue home. Kennedy's fingerprints and palm print, as well as blood samples matching his DNA, were found inside the house. The judge described the crime scene photos as the worst he's seen in his 17 years on the bench. Kennedy's family had nothing to say after the sentence. But Assistant District Attorney JoBeth Murphy says justice was served.
The judge really gave a very good sentencing order in this case. It was a most horrendous crime. The judge pointed that out quite clearly, set forth the factors that should apply legally, and Carlos Kennedy was sentenced to death today, as he deserved to be.
White's daughter was tearful following the hearing.
Right now I'm too emotional to really even think about anything. I remember her every day. I remember her, when the weddings that come that she's not going to be there for, the graduations for my children, the holidays, the times that she's not there, that I wish you were there.
Did you see any remorse in him today?
I did not.
Kennedy's lawyer wasn't surprised by the sentence.
Certainly an uncooperative client, let's put it that way. Yeah, I'm very glad it's over.
Kennedy didn't want a lawyer, but he was appointed one anyway. Could that play a role in his appeal process?
It appeared to me that Carlos Kennedy was just basically kind of trying to play the system to perhaps create an issue for appeal.
White's daughter says even though she agrees with the judge's decision, there are no winners in this situation. The death sentence will not take away her pain, and she says she knows Kennedy's family is hurting too. Reporting live from Government Plaza, I'm Renee Dials for Fox 10 News.
Thank you, Renee. The search for a Theodore man accused of shooting into a crowded fast food restaurant is over. Darren Gaddis surrendered to Mobile County Sheriff's deputies about 7 o'clock last night. We've been telling you about this case for more than a week now. Investigators say Gaddis fired nearly 20 shots after getting into an argument with customers in the drive-thru. Police arrested the 23-year-old days after the shooting and charged him with assault. After reviewing the case, though, the Mobile County District Attorney Ashley Rich upgraded those charges to attempted murder. Voters headed to the polls yesterday in the first step in the process to replace former Congressman Joe Bonner.
In all, 11 candidates were on ballots yesterday in the primary election for Alabama's 1st congressional district. First, a look at the Democrats. Well, Burton LaFleur winning the nomination with 70% of the vote, defeating Lula Albert Kegler.
But the Republican race is still undecided. Bradley Byrne came in first in the field of 9 candidates with 35% of the vote, but that wasn't enough to avoid a runoff. He'll go head-to-head with the second-place finisher, Dean Young, in 6 weeks.
Today, our Katie Weiss caught up with Byrne and Young.
And she asked both of them what sets them apart from each other in the race.
Well, now it's up to 2 GOP candidates who both say they're traditional conservatives. So how are they different from one another? It's all about the experience for Bradley Byrne. He says he's proven himself before and he won't disappoint again.
One of the biggest examples was Bishop State here in Mobile. We literally had to go in and change out virtually everybody in the management of the school. Some people, as was widely reported, went to jail. Then we had to go in there and learn and cut back on the expenditures at the school so it could live within its means. And we did that without having to cut a single essential program. So I know, because I've done it, that we can cut government.
But for Dean Young, it's about party loyalty.
Bradley Byrne is a lawyer and he's an ex-Democrat. Now, I'm a small businessman and a conservative Republican. So we believe that when the people of South Alabama are given a choice, they're going to pick the conservative businessman, and that'll be Dean Young.
They also have different plans for the future.
First thing I want to do is protect the jobs that are there at Austell Shipyard. That's 4,000 jobs. They're subject to a Navy contract, and we need to protect those. The biggest thing we need to do in Washington is change course up there. They're not getting the job done for the people of America. They're not doing things in the right way. And they don't do things the way we do down here in South Alabama.
When I get to Washington, what I'll do is I'll work with the people that see the things the way I do. We'll build coalitions. Need to send someone to Washington that will stand strong on the things that matter, that can change this country.
Two GOP candidates with different backgrounds and goals who say they welcome the opportunity for a runoff. In Baldwin County, Katie Weiss, Fox 10 News.
Republican voters will decide between Byrne and Young in the runoff election, which is Tuesday, November 5th.
And the winner of that runoff will face Democrat Burton LaFleur in the general election on December 17th. Fox 10 News caught up with him after he clinched his party's nomination last night.
After tonight, we've got major work to do, and you know, if we're going to get the vote out and get our message out to the people, that's going to take a lot. You know, we got to raise some money. We got to get more volunteers. We got to get into the counties and you know, let those people know who we are and who I am, and that we are representing change in Southern Alabama.
An independent candidate also tried to get on the ballot, James Hall of Stapleton. Hall had until yesterday to send the Alabama Secretary of State's office signatures of nearly 6,000 registered voters. But the Secretary of State's office tells Fox 10 News that Hall turned in fewer than 3,000 signatures, and because of that, he will not be on the general election ballot in December. For a closer look at the election results and more information on the candidates still in the running, head to our website, fox10tv.com. Click on the Alabama House District 1 link on our continuing coverage bar.
Voters in Bayou La Batre elected a new mayor last night. Brett Dungan received 55% of the votes, beating opponent Henry Barnes in the runoff. We caught up with the mayor-elect just after the votes were counted, and he told us about one of the many things he plans to focus on during his term.
You know, the most important thing is that we haven't had effective leadership on the Gulf Restoration Act Council. So that is really the number one issue, and that's time sensitive. And, you know, I think that's got to be the biggest priority for our community.
Dungan will finish out the 3 years remaining on former Bayou La Batre Mayor Stan Wright's term. Well, quite the scene in Live Oak Landing in Stockton. Very peaceful there on the Tensas River. And you know what? The conditions were rather pleasant, too. Thank goodness, after all the rain we saw in much of our area yesterday.
Yeah, look how smooth that water is. I wonder if it'd be good for fishing. I bet Jason knows all about that. Jason?
Well, some cooler nights will help get those water temperatures down. That could help the fishing, too. And as far as how comfortable it is out there, well, we are glad to see the rain getting out of here. We're actually clear right now across the entire forecast area here on our Storm Tracker Doppler radar. Looking great across the area. Our current conditions look like this as we track temperatures now in Mobile and Pensacola. We're about to move into a new phase in our weather pattern where it's mainly going to be a temperature forecast, meaning we're not expecting much rain really in the next 6 or 7 days. Very low chances, and temperatures will be the main theme here as we'll be looking at it. The air is drying out. Winds are out of the north in Mobile and Pensacola. umbrella. A weak front, which was scheduled to be stalled over the area, has actually gotten a little push today out over the northern Gulf, and so that's bringing in drier air a little ahead of schedule. So that's bringing in lower relative humidity right now. We have relative humidity at 48% in Mobile, 87 degrees right now, 87 in Pensacola. We've got some sunshine out there too. Look at the visible satellite picture. We had clouds around this morning, but they broke up as the drier air worked in, and the drier air even bringing in some even drier stuff from the mid-levels of the atmosphere, mixing down to the surface in the afternoon. So it's taking the clouds with it, keeping it clear, and making it feel just a little better. Our temperature trend through the day warming up into the upper 80s, but we're going to see a pleasant night tonight with our overnight lows. Coming up in your forecast, we'll see how cool it gets the next couple of nights. We'll look for any changes with significant changes with the air masses and see if there are any fall fronts out there in the future. Look at the tropics and track our outlook for the next 7 days. That's all coming up. Bob.
People in Atmore are recovering from flooding and wind damage caused by yesterday's severe weather. We go to the scene with Fox 10 News reporter Letitia Bush.
Well, as soon as you drive into Atmore, this is what you see. Part of a gas station ripped apart, and it's evidence that a strong storm moved over this area.
These pictures taken by David Gemin show some of you trying to drive through flooded downtown streets. Floodwaters came right up to the front door of one local business. Carl Anderson was inside his store when the rain came pouring down.
Well, it was kind of amazing more than anything.
He had one last customer inside, but she waited out the storm.
We couldn't get out of the store to get her in her car. That's how bad it was.
Another Atmore resident, Christopher French, was finishing up construction work when the storm rolled through.
It was just like lightning, thundering, wind. It was more rain, heavier rain than it was wind. And see, that's when I had to book up. I had to get out of it.
French knew it was bad when he paid a visit to his favorite gas station today and saw part of the awning on the ground.
After I seen all this here tore down, I said, whoa. It was a little rougher than I thought it was.
Chief Meteorologist Jason Smith tracked the storm as it was hitting the city during our 5 p.m. newscast.
And it's breaking ahead of the main line here in Escambia County. We can see that pretty clearly around Atmore.
He says the city was hit with estimated 60-mile-per-hour winds and 3 to 4 inches of rain in about an hour. Enough rain to make the ceiling collapse at this business in downtown Atmore.
Our camera can't fit inside this building here, so I'm going to use my iPhone to give you an inside look. I'm going to sneak it through here, and as you can see, debris is everywhere. Wires and beams and insulation are all on the ground. The ceiling has collapsed. There's certainly a whole lot of work to do to get this cleaned up again. Reporting in Atmore, Letitia Bush, Fox 10 News.
And you know, as the system moved through last night, you made sure to send us pictures to our newsroom. Here's a look at the damage left behind in Atmore, like Letitia was talking about there. David taking this picture at the gas station. Chrissy emailed us this picture showing her yard flooded by the heavy rain. And after the storm cleared Calvert, we'll take a look at that. The sun setting, that's what followed, and this comes from Jennifer. We want to thank everyone who took the time to email us those pictures. If you see news happening, please report it. It's very easy to do. If you have an email account, just email us your pictures or videos to report it at Fox 10 News. You can also post them on our Facebook page or head to our website, fox10tv.com, and click on the Reported tab at the top of our homepage.
They got a tablet computer and some medication.
Mobile police say 2 teens staked out a halfway house, then ransacked the place. That story next. Plus, 2 big packages wash up on local beaches. We'll let you know what was inside when Fox 10 News returns.
You're watching Fox.
Man, I ain't been.
You're watching Fox 10 News in high-definition television.
Mobile police arrested a couple of teenagers today who now face some serious adult criminal charges. Fox 10 News reporter Joe Salvatore has the story.
Man, I ain't did nothing.
Investigators say 17-year-olds Tyler White and Matthew Vance entered Serenity Care Incorporated on Dawes Road armed with knives.
The manager was doing his nightly rounds on the outside in another part of the building, and apparently they had been casing the place and saw the manager leave out, and that's when they gained entry.
Serenity Care Inc.'s director Melvin Richardson says a manager called him around midnight and said someone ransacked his office.
They got a tablet computer and some medication.
The suspects left the area but later returned to Serenity Care.
And one of my employees called 911 and told them that the guys that they were looking for were out here in our parking lot.
White and Vance are now charged with burglary, possession of marijuana, and another controlled substance. Mobile Police Corporal Chris Levy says the two teens are under investigation for other crimes committed in surrounding neighborhoods off Dawes Road.
They were found with a number of pieces of property. Where they came from, where that property came from, would be part of that investigation.
Corporal Levy says Strickland Youth Center investigators will look into solving those crimes. Joe Salvatore, Fox 10 News.
And at this hour, online records show both teens are still behind bars.